Here's Todd Friel to try to convince you that math needs a god to ensure that 2 plus 2 equals 4.
All right, I'm going to take you down a math road right now. And this is going to maybe seem very unfamiliar, but I'm going to ask you some math questions. Not like what's 17 times 408. Math. Why do you believe, Jack, that when we do math equations, we always have a consistent outcome?
Because math equations are true by definition. Math is a human invention. Mathematical concepts, including numbers, are made up by humans and defined by humans. Insofar as other humans employ those same definitions, they will, of course, come to the same conclusions. Why wouldn't they?
Every time we add 2 and 2, it's always 4. It never changes. It's not random. It seems guided, as if there are laws of math that are fixed. Why do you suppose that is?
Because there are laws of math which are made up by the people who invented math and invented those laws. People can invent concepts and define those concepts. They don't need a god's help with this. 2 plus 2 consistently equals 4 because 2 plus 2 is a way to define 4. Humans came up with the concept of 2 and 4 and addition, and we defined 4 in such a way that the expression 2 plus 2 is conceptually inherent to it. We don't need God's help to do this. Asking why does 2 plus 2 always equal 4 is like asking why is every bachelor I meet always an unmarried man? The answer is because we invented those concepts to mean those things. It's not because there's a God who somehow keeps 2 plus 2 equaling 4 or keeping bachelors unmarried. It's human beings who are keeping these definitions fixed, not God.
I would just say, that's what I love about math, and what's cool about math is that, it just seemed like whoever created math just knew that there was outcomes to everything. And, I think it goes along with a lot of things in this world that if you put 2 and 2 together, you're going to find there's always going to be a solution.
Yeah, but here's where I'm going with this, and you tell me if this tracks and makes sense. If there wasn't somebody who wrote down the laws and enforces the laws, there would be no laws.
The laws of math don't need to be enforced in the sense that they need some supernatural being to ensure that 2 plus 2 always equals 4. Todd seems to think that without a god, there would be nothing stopping 2 plus 2 from equaling 5. This is nonsense. Insofar as we agree to define 2 and 4 the same way, 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. We don't need a god's help to keep this consistent. It will be consistent for as long as we want it to be consistent.
You and I can drive as fast as we want if there aren't any laws, but the authorities said you only go 55, so that's what we do.
And those authorities aren't God, are they?
Same thing as with math. 7 times 7, always going to be 49. Who do you think is standing behind those laws, and who wrote them?
The human beings who created the concepts of 7 and 49 are standing behind them, and wrote the rules that define 49 as 7 times 7.
I would just say, it goes back to early times, and those early philosophers who were writing those math laws. It just seems like, and I trust them. They were smart guys, so they're the ones who wrote the laws, and so I just go off what they wrote.
Yeah, okay, so they wrote them. Do you think they created them or discovered them?
They created some of the laws, then other laws were discovered to be conceptually inherent to the earlier laws they created.
I think they discovered them. I think that down the line, people would have discovered them later, but so I think they were there and they discovered them.
Yeah, I think so too.
What would that even mean? To say that the laws of math were all discovered would have to mean that they somehow exist in the universe independent of human minds. How could that possibly be the case? In what sense would they exist? What would they be made of? They couldn't be physical, and if they couldn't be physical, then they don't exist physically. And if they don't exist physically, I don't understand what it would mean to say that they exist at all.
Because let's say Plato or Socrates or Euripides or whoever the math geek was back then, they came up with something, they can't enforce it. So all they're doing is discovering what's already there.
They don't need to enforce it. People are entirely free to redefine the meanings of numbers and of mathematical operations. But insofar as people want to use the mathematical definitions created by whoever created them, they would be employing the same definitions. If they want to come up with alternate definitions, they are free to do so. If someone wants to define 5 as 2 plus 2, they can do that. And if they did that, then 2 plus 2 would equal 5. People don't do that because there would be no point. That wouldn't be any more useful than defining 4 as 2 plus 2. There doesn't need to be a God to make sure that 2 plus 2 always equals 4. It will equal 4 for as long as we want to define 4 as 2 plus 2. It's not as though without a God, definitions will change randomly beyond our control. Definitions will hold for as long as we want them to.
All right, so I'm going to circle back to the same question then. Where do you suppose, who put those laws there? That's what I'm trying to noodle through.
People put those laws there. If someone wants to define 4 to mean something other than 2 plus 2, they are perfectly free to do so. The reason they don't is not because there is a God who enforces a law that says 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's because there's no point in revising the definition of any of those numbers or operations. To say that there must be a God to keep 2 plus 2 equaling 4 is like saying that if there were no God, there would be nothing to keep married guys from being bachelors, while still also being married. The reason there are no married bachelors is because people choose not to use the word bachelor to apply to anyone who is married. We don't need a God to keep this concept stable for us. It will remain stable for as long as we want it to.
I would just say for me, I'm a spiritual guy, so for me, maybe just start in the beginning, and God, started with him, and he, through different creations and stuff we look at, beginning in the Bible, it just started with him, and like you said, the people later discovered these things, that he created them.
So you said spiritual, then you said Bible, so you must be either Jewish or Christian.
Yeah, Christian.
All right, so you're a Christian. So you would say to me, the one who stands behind math is the creator of the universe, God.
Yes, sir.
And you know that how?
I would just say, just based off my faith, based off learnings and teachings that God created everything, created the heavens and the earth, and so for me, he created math and created what we think about math.
Why couldn't people have created math? It's especially bizarre to me to think that we need someone else to create what we think about math.
Today.
Science, laws of nature. All right, so Jack, do me a favor. If I came up to you and said, dude, we've had a couple of classes together. You seem like you got your act together, and I've heard you're a Christian. Would you please share with me why you think I should become a Christian? How would you go about doing that?
I would just say, for me, definitely not forcing it upon you or anything, but for me, it's really just changed my life and just the way I find happiness, really. It used to be through just works and just outside things, other satisfactions, but for me, it's just through my faith and through learning about Jesus and growing, it's just brought a whole new happiness to my life, and I just really enjoyed it, and continue to enjoy to learn more about it and grow in my faith. So, yes, sir.
I don't doubt that for a second, but what if I responded and said, but Jack, I'm actually pretty happy right now. So I'm not sure that I need to believe in Jesus because my life is on track. What would you say?
I'd probably say I understand that, and but I would definitely say there's going to be some points down. Maybe it's not now or a year or two from now, but definitely in the future where there's going to be some hopeless points in your life where you definitely feel like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I going to turn? And I would just say, I'd come back to what I said about just God and being able to go to him, and definitely that's where he'll be your comfort, and he's there for you.
Why would that convince me that a God exists? That's like saying you should believe you're a millionaire because someday you might need money, and the belief that you're a millionaire would be really comforting to you in those moments. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.